Thanks for joining us for CBN News Today. I'm Charlene Israel. The first winter storm of 2014 has been pummeling the Northeast with blinding snow, strong winds, and there are still hours left before an end is in sight. Forecasters say some areas could experience several feet of snow. Caitlin Burke reports.
Nearly 2 feet of snow near Boston, more than 18 inches near Rochester, New York. And forecasters say it's not over yet as that massive winter storm lingers and cold temperatures remain across the Northeast.
I think it's crazy. It came so fast.
I think we got spoiled with all the warm weather that we've been having. Is that a real New England winter is this.
The brutal weather's making travel a nightmare. 3 major highways in New York shut down overnight, and at airports across the country, another day of cancellations and delays.
I have no idea when we get out of here. They just canceled and said we're supposed to fly this morning and then got canceled again.
For millions of school children, the snow means an extended Christmas break. Schools across the region closed today. The storm is impacting 22 states and nearly 100 million people. It started Wednesday in the Midwest, where residents are still digging out.
I just cleared the car off, and it was about 3.5, 4 inches on top of the car.
This is kind of cleanup number 3. We did yesterday morning, then again yesterday evening, and then here we are again.
Back in the Northeast, the snow and strong winds remain throughout the day. Residents warned to stay home until the worst is over. Caitlin Burke, CBN News.
The 52 scientists and tourists rescued from a trapped vessel in the Antarctic still can't get home. Thursday, a helicopter flew the stranded passengers off the ice pack in groups of 10 and 12. Their ship had been trapped in the ice for more than 10 days. Now they're stuck again, this time because the Chinese icebreaker that sent the helicopter fears it could get stuck as well. So the Australian ship meant to carry the passengers home is hanging around in case it's needed to rescue the Chinese. One other irony to this story, the team of explorers and scientists trapped by the ice was on an expedition to study the effects of climate change in the South Pole. Many climate change activists believe global warming is causing ice to melt at the poles. Plans to prepare women for combat in the U.S. military have hit a snag. More than 50% of female Marines in boot camp can't meet the new minimum standard of 3 pull-ups. The military has been trying to equalize physical standards to integrate women into combat roles. The Marine Corps is now delaying the requirement. All service branches are devising standards to open combat roles to women in 2016. Elaine Donnelly, president of the Center for Military Readiness, said the decision to suspend the scheduled pull-up requirements is a clear indication that plans to move women into direct combat fighting teams will not work. Secretary of State John Kerry launched a second day of talks with Israelis and Palestinians as he ramps up his attempts at a peace deal. Speaking from Israel, Kerry said talks are entering a difficult phase aimed at creating a Palestinian state alongside Israel, and it's time to start making hard decisions. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel is seeking peace.
We are now 5 full months into this negotiation. We have always known that achieving peace is a long and complicated process. It's a tough road, but this is not mission impossible.
The people of Israel and I are prepared to make such an historic peace. But we must have a Palestinian partner who's equally prepared to make this peace. Peace means ending incitement. It means fighting terrorism and condemning terrorism. It means recognizing Israel as the nation state of the Jewish people.
But Netanyahu says recent actions and words from Palestinian leaders make Israelis doubt that the Palestinians are committed to peace. Iran's churches are under pressure to stop holding services in the Farsi language. According to Mohabbat News, St. Peter Church in Tehran is the latest to announce that Farsi-speaking Christians are no longer allowed to attend. The following Sunday, a church custodian refused to allow several Farsi-speaking members to enter the church. The pastor also announced that all services will now be held in another language. The new regulations are being enforced by the hardline Republican Guard. Christians believe it's an attempt to force churches to close since Farsi is the language spoken by most Iranians. Back here in the U.S., new signs of trouble for Obamacare due to the failed website launch and the last-minute crush to sign up before January 1st. Thousands, if not millions, of enrollees aren't even sure if they have insurance. That's because applications haven't been processed, and insurance companies say they've received thousands of faulty applications from the government. Tens of thousands of potential Medicaid recipients in the 36 states are also in limbo. The federal website that was supposed to send their applications to the states failed to do so. The White House says 2 million Americans have now signed up under the new health care law, but that is far short of the goal of more than 3 million. This year, the Republicans plan to take back the Senate, and they may be able to do that thanks to the public backlash against Obamacare. But as David Brody reports, the Republicans also face some tough obstacles on the road ahead.
Fireworks celebrate the new year, but for Republicans, November could mark a new beginning. The reason? Well, they have a chance to win control of the Senate and rule Capitol Hill. The GOP see Obamacare as their ace in the hole. And the chairman of the Republican National Committee tells CBN News they will use it every chance they get.
Politically, the answer is let Obamacare go through. We'll tattoo it to their foreheads and beat them in 2014. The problem with the political answer is that it's a painful thing for a lot of people.
That pain can be felt across the country. In Cooperstown, North Dakota, Brooke Frederickson found out she couldn't keep her health care plan, even though the president said she could.
It was a lie. It was a lie. There's millions of Americans all over the country. Just turn on the news. You know, it's really sad.
And it's costing President Obama at the wrong time. His approval numbers are down to 43%. That's even lower than George W. Bush, who sat at 47% after 5 years of his presidency. And it could drop even further if the president and Democrats don't quickly resolve Obamacare issues. Republicans need 6 seats to control the Senate, and they're going to go after moderate Democrats who supported Obamacare.
I think it's a political liability for any Democrat who voted for it. Most Senate Democrats, it passed by, it was 1 vote margin, so every single one of them who voted for it cast the deciding vote.
Ads are already in full swing.
Mary Landrieu cast the deciding vote for Obamacare.
If I had to vote for the bill again, I would vote for it tomorrow.
And the strategy for vulnerable Democrats? Keep your distance from the president.
Senator Landrieu says President Obama needs to stick to his word.
But Senate Democrats will not be the only ones fighting for their political survival. On the Republican side, some longtime GOP establishment senators are going to get challenges from Tea Party-backed candidates. It's already happening at the top, where Tea Party conservative Matt Bevin is going after Senate leader Mitch McConnell. Others, like Lindsey Graham and John Cornyn, face primary fights as well. This also marks the other political theme of 2014, the Tea Party versus the establishment. The Tea Party wants strong constitutional conservatives in office. The old guard wants to grow their numbers, even if candidates don't toe the conservative line. This debate played out in 2012 after some Tea Party primary winners faltered. And then they received the blame for costing Republicans control of the Senate.
We let races slip out of our hands, and we really let the Senate majority slip away from us over these last 2 cycles. That's something that all of us ought to agree is something we should never allow to happen.
But that won't be easy. Special interest groups from both sides of the spectrum are already arming for the fight. Senator John McCain tells CBN News all this bickering has to stop.
We've all got to work together, hash out our differences, but our adversary is the Democrat Party, not the Republican Party. Let the Republican primary voters decide who our candidates are going to be, rather than pouring money in attack ads against Republicans raised from Republicans. It doesn't make any sense.
That leaves Senate control in doubt. While in the House, Republicans should still be in charge after the midterm elections. That doesn't mean, however, it's going to be an easy road for Speaker John Boehner. He faces a determined Tea Party caucus and outside groups like Club for Growth and Heritage Action.
I think they're pushing our members in places where they don't want to be. And frankly, I just think that they've lost all credibility.
Talk radio host Mark Levin believes a fight over the true meaning of conservatism is at hand.
They need to embrace and reacquaint themselves with conservative principles, constitutional republicanism, and make the case over and over and over again, and at every angle, fight for it. At every turn, fight for it.
So 2014 begins with a fireworks show that will only get hotter as the elections get closer. David Brody, CBN News, Washington.
Well, with a new year comes new laws. Some 40,000 policies have gone into effect in 2014, from limiting drones in Illinois to tighter gun control in Connecticut and California. Most of the new laws are at state and local levels, but one federal law will change the way you light your house. The federal government is now banning the production of all incandescent light bulbs. The move is aimed at promoting more energy-efficient alternatives. Coming up, how to make your New Year's resolutions stick. We've got a secret to help you break bad habits and create some good ones. Colorado kicked off the new year by allowing legalized recreational marijuana, and now some in California are pushing to do the same. A recent poll by the ACLU shows 65% of Californians support legalizing pot. And California Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom is trying to launch a ballot initiative to allow marijuana. Opponents say it's a bad idea for California's youth and for public safety.
There's no doubt any longer that marijuana is a gateway drug. Of the hundreds of people who die every day of overdose on other drugs, virtually every one of them started with marijuana. This is a serious concern for our future. A productive, healthy society requires sober citizens.
We have enough problems with people that are drunk driving behind the wheel. And so you're going to have the same amount of people. How are they going to regulate that?
It's a new year, time for those New Year's resolutions and breaking bad habits that have been plaguing you. In fact, a Duke University study shows nearly half of everything we do each day is not a conscious decision, just something we do by habit. But as our health reporter Lori Johnson tells us, there's a new technique that can help us take control of our behavior.
Most of us know from experience bad habits such as smoking and eating junk food are hard to break. And good habits, like that New Year's resolution to exercise every day, are hard to keep. But you're more likely to succeed with a new strategy. Scientists recently uncovered an enormous amount about how habits work in our brains.
Everything we know about the science of habits indicates that any habit can be changed.
In his book, The Power of Habit, Charles Duhigg points out each habit contains 3 parts. First, a cue, which automatically triggers us to start. Then comes the routine, which is the behavior itself, followed by the reward, which is what we crave and is the key to our brain remembering that routine in the future.
And everyone from Aristotle to Oprah talks about changing habits, and for years they focused on the routine, on the behavior. But what we've learned is that it's really the cues and the rewards that shape how habits function. And that's how you can change habits, by diagnosing and paying attention to these cues and rewards.
Charles used himself as an example. In his job at the New York Times, he wanted to break his bad habit of eating a cookie in the company cafeteria every afternoon. So that's the routine. First, he identified the cue, which is always one of 5 things: time of day, a certain place, presence of other people, a particular emotion, or something you just did.
And so every day when I had a cookie urge, I would write down those 5 things. Where am I sitting? What am I doing? And I realized pretty soon that the cue was a certain time of day. It always hit between 3:15 and 3:45.
Then he experimented to diagnose the reward. Did it satisfy hunger? No, because after eating a filling apple, he still craved a cookie. Was it getting a break from work? No, because after walking outside, he still craved a cookie. How about interacting with other people? Bingo, because when he socialized, even without food, he felt content.
The cookie had essentially become an excuse for talking to other people. So once I recognized that, once I knew that the cue was a certain time of day and the reward was the social experience, I could reshape the behavior, the routine. So now every day I stand up at about 3:30 and I look for someone to go have a conversation with, and I walk over to their desk and then I go back to my desk. And the cookie urge is totally gone. I've changed that habit.
Let's say you want to break your habit of smoking a cigarette every night, and you figured out your cue is finishing dinner, and your reward is feeling relaxed. Now you need to find a better routine that delivers the same reward, such as taking a bath.
But what if instead of changing a habit, you'd like to start a brand new one, like daily exercise? In this case, you have to come up with your own cues and rewards, but make sure the reward is something you genuinely enjoy, like listening to your favorite music.
If you go for a run every morning and you tell yourself, I'm going to reward myself by eating kale chips, that is not going to work because nobody actually likes kale chips, right? On the other hand, there was a study that was done in Germany where they told people, go running in the morning, to start an exercise routine, and when you get back to your house, eat a small piece of chocolate. Now, this is counterintuitive, right? Because nobody exercises to eat more chocolate. And yet it worked. Because chocolate is a reward that people actually enjoy.
So by understanding our habits are simply cues, followed by a routine, then a reward, we can control our behavior. And as a bonus, the longer we stick with a habit, the easier it becomes.
Up next, the inside scoop from a White House chef. Find out what this culinary expert served to past presidents and how you can eat just like them. At the White House, chefs spend months preparing for the many parties and receptions hosted by the president and first lady. They're used to feeding large crowds, but they also have another important job, feeding the first family. CBN's Jennifer Wishon introduces us to a former White House chef who worked under 3 administrations.
The White House is home to the most well-known families in the world. We know a lot about their public lives, but at the end of the day, when they head to the private residence on the 2nd floor, what do they eat? Chef John Moeller worked in the White House kitchen for more than a decade, serving Presidents George H.W. Bush, Clinton, and George W. Bush. Now he's dishing on what they ate in his new book, Dining at the White House, From the President's Table to Yours.
How does a kid from Dutch country, Pennsylvania, wind up being a chef in the White House?
Obviously, the short answer is right place, right time. It was extraordinary. You know, you see this person on the TV, but then you see this person on the 2nd floor of the White House just enjoying a meal. It would be chicken pot pie or maybe filet mignon. It was extraordinary.
Moeller cooked for state dinners, plated thousands of hors d'oeuvres for Christmas parties, and perhaps most importantly, prepared daily meals for the first family.
What in the world does the president eat for breakfast? What does he eat for lunch and dinner?
So every Thursday, I would submit menus for the coming week, and that would be for lunch and dinner. And by Friday afternoon, it was up on this little table in the West Sitting Hall where they could see it and show what the menu is for the week.
But sometimes first children like Chelsea Clinton didn't want gourmet.
I think Mom and Dad was out one night and she asked for some mac and cheese. So, you know, I boiled up some noodles, made a bechamel sauce, grated some cheese, mixed it all together. And she said that was all well and good, but next time could have the one from the box, you know. So, I mean, I wasn't really hurt. We're there to serve. So, I mean, if that's something she liked, and we'd have to keep a couple boxes on the shelf there, because every once in a while, if she's by herself, she wanted like a quick snack or a meal there. If Mom and Dad was out, we'd break out the Kraft mac and cheese there, you know.
And I understand that you have a chicken pot pie recipe that transcends party lines.
Late in the Clinton administration there, he was having dinner one night on a cold winter's evening and decided to do a chicken pot pie from my hometown, Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And it's a nice hearty chicken pot pie with, instead of the dough being on top and around, we make it and put it inside like a heavy dumpling. I put it in the bowl, I sent it up to him, and I was in the butler's pantry there, and the door opened up, and I see the president leaning over the bowl, and he looked up at me, gave me the big thumbs up, and said, "John, this is the kind of food I like." And Mrs. Clinton was standing there, and she looked at it and said, "Well, let's make a few extra biscuits for that next time," you know? I said, "Absolutely." And then when George W. Bush came into office, it was a cold winter's night, and he was by himself, and I said, "Let me try that chicken pot pie recipe again." Would you know it, the same thing happened. I was upstairs, the door opened up, he's leaning over the bowl eating it, he looked up at me, gave me the thumbs up, and said, "John, this is the kind of food I like."
Should people be intimidated? Can the average cook actually read these recipes and come out with a product that's pretty close to what you came out with?
I think so. What our final testing is we sent them out to a group of home cooks all across this country, actually, and they recreated them, and they got back to us with comments. And we adjusted some prep times and things of that nature, but for the most part, they enjoyed it, and they said we were able to execute this.
For Moeller, it was the job of a lifetime, and now you can dine like the presidents he served. Jennifer Wishon, CBN News, Washington.
Finally today, people from around the world gathered in Pennsylvania to take a dip in the Susquehanna River for this year's penguin plunge. Swimmers ranging in age from 8 to 80 braved the cold temperatures, all for the sake of charity. Volunteers who took the plunge raised thousands of dollars for the Humane Society. The money goes towards finding homes for hundreds of animals in need. Plungers who brave the elements say even though it's cold, the good cause makes it worth it.
And we jump in the river or jump in the lake, but first we have to break the ice.
It's for a good cause, and I don't really care if I get cold.
I do it because I love animals, and I'm not old enough to volunteer at the Humane Society, so this is a good way for me to help out.
This is 15-year-old Devon's fifth plunge. She has raised over $20,000 over the years. She says she's looking forward to helping animals find a home. Good for them. Well, that's going to do it for now on CBN News Today. You can find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care most about at cbnnews.com. Tell us what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can do that on Facebook or at CBN News on Twitter. We hope you'll join us next time. Have a great day. God bless.